Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we are going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 10th overall spot, as requested from someone down below in the comment section. Inside of this video, we are going to be talking about my overall thoughts of each pick that happens in the draft, as well as my thoughts of why I am going ahead and picking these certain players at these certain spots, and overall discussion on a couple of players in the video. The roster positions for this PPR mock draft are 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wideouts, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. Probably the next time you see a mock draft will either be right before the 2021 NFL draft or the day following when all of the draft has concluded, because by then we will have a much better idea of a lot of these backfields for fantasy football. But for right now, we're going to talk a little bit about the draft as well, probably during this video, just based off of the speculation that it causes for a couple of these running backs. So if you guys do end up enjoying this video and you want more fantasy football content, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football league. So let's get into it. Again, this is on Fantasy Pros, so we are going to be drafting up against the computer, but as the offseason goes on, I will be doing a lot more drafts with you guys to get you guys into the videos so that we could all have a great time together. So we are at the 10th overall spot, which is honestly where I ideally want to be picking in fantasy drafts. I like being at the end of the draft because you are able to make all of these swing picks where you can just go ahead and snag 2 running backs at the turn, 2 wide receivers. You can really dictate your team. You're not really sitting there with a thumb up your ass waiting for your next pick like you are if you're sitting in the middle. So personally, I like being one of the edge picks, either that at the beginning because you get the turn down here, or at the end of the draft. I frankly just don't like being in the middle. Again, you can win your fantasy football league at any position, so it's really all just up to preference. So the draft began with Christian McCaffrey, followed by Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, and Ron Jones. Only 1 wide receiver going in the first 9 picks, meaning 8 running backs have been taken. Surprisingly, we have not seen Travis Kelce come off the board yet. Kelce is the top tier elite position at the tight end. This guy is just dominant year in and year out, and I'm thinking a lot of people are going to be willing to take their shot in drafting such a safe tight end at pick maybe 6 through 12. You'll probably see him going off the board. I highly doubt you see Travis Kelce fall into the second round in very many 12-team drafts because he's just a set it and forget it tight end. A lot of people like myself, we like to kind of dilly-dally around, wait till later in the draft, then draft our tight end. But if that guy doesn't end up hitting, it's pretty much like those guys back there are normally never set it and forget it. You're kind of rotating guys in and out of your lineup, whereas if you draft Kelce early, you kind of don't have to do that because he's always going to be in there, except for on his bye week, so that's kind of the thought process behind that. Obviously, running backs go very early in these drafts because guys want to get their workhorse running backs. And in the NFL nowadays, it's not like years prior, back in the day when these teams have these bell cow running backs. It's just not like that anymore. A lot of teams like to run that running back by committee, and it works in the NFL, but it's not the greatest for your fantasy football roster. So now we are kind of getting to the point where the running back workhorses are kind of dying off, and you're looking to try to go ahead and hop on a running back that may be in a somewhat crowded backfield, but still should be able to prevail. So with the value at the wide receiver position here, frankly, I am going to draft a wide receiver in the first round. Normally, I'm double running back until I die. The 1-2 punch, the 1-2 Mayweather of running back in the first 2 rounds. But in this scenario, when all of the value has fallen, I want to go ahead and get a guy that I believe can finish as the wide receiver 1 in fantasy football. That is Stephon Diggs, wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills. We saw how good he was last season in his first year in the Buffalo Bills system. Just imagine how good he's going to be when he has another year to train with Josh Allen. So after we went with Diggs, Chubb came out the board, followed by Tyreek Hill, D-Hop, and Austin Eckler. So right there at that 12 spot is where you're going to see a lot of people go for the 1-2 double wide receiver strategy. While I don't normally go for it, it is a good spot because the falling value at the wide receiver position is very high, and the assumption is a lot of people are going to be drafting wide receivers, so hopefully you can go ahead and get some falling value at the running back position. Will that end up happening in every draft? Obviously not, but that is obviously the hope of that team. So now we're back up on the board here, and there's not a whole lot of running backs here that I love to draft this early on in the second round. DeAndre Swift is a guy I like, but they brought in another running back there to confuse things even further. Joe Mixon is a guy I'm really bought into, but there's a whole lot of risk in it. Joe Mixon is probably the most boom or bust running back going in the second round, because I can see a scenario where Joe Mixon is literally a top 5 running back, but I could also see a scenario where he completely fucking sucks because the offensive line falters and he just can't do anything, and it seems like the coaching doesn't necessarily let him have that long of a leash. They were bringing in Giovanni Bernard last year to go ahead and run the ball a bunch, but Giovanni Bernard is gone, so maybe the door is even more wide open than I expect, but again, we will tell in the draft who they end up drafting. Antonio Gibson is a guy I really like. I kind of feel confident in him, but again, he's not really a workhorse running back because they are going to be using J.D. McKisson titties behind him. Cam Akers, I like a lot, and he is going to be the pick here. I think he is by far and away the best running back on this team. I think he is going to be seeing a million touches. We saw it deep down the stretch of the season. This guy was going insane in the membrane. When it came to the NFL playoffs, he was also playing quite well, so I like Cam Akers here of the LA Rams as my second-round pick to join Mr. Stefon Diggs on the squad. After we drafted Mr. Cam Akers, Cal Ridley came off the board, followed by DK Metcalf, Michael Thomas, A.J. Brown, Travis Kelce, Patty Mahomes, George Kittle, Justin Jefferson, Miles Sanders, Keenan Allen, Darren Waller, Joe Mixon, Antonio Gibson, DeAndre Swift, CEH, Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, and J.K. Dobbins. So we do see our first quarterback come off the board in Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be in pretty much every single league. Unlike last year where Lamar was going ahead of him, it seems like he is just the undisputed fucking quarterback one off the board. I have never been in a mock draft, even with people like on a best ball website, where people are drafting anyone ahead of Patrick Mahomes, if I'm being honest with you. The only time I've ever seen it was Josh Allen, and I've done like 80 best ball drafts, and that's the only time I've ever seen it. So it seems like he's going to be the clear one at quarterback. The clear one at tight end is also Travis Kelce. I talked about it a little earlier. He definitely fell in this draft. All the big 3 tight ends, though, that is Kelce, Kittle, and Waller, all go in the first 3 rounds of the draft. Typically, there's a much bigger gap, though, from the first round to the second round where someone picks Kittle and then Waller. But again, in this draft, it goes a little different. Every single draft is going to be different. So like I said, the running backs go early, but the wide receivers, the tight ends, they all start to make their mark in the second or the third round. So now we are back up on the board with Cam Akers and Stefon Diggs on our roster. Now, to me, I've made a whole video talking about this guy, got on my knees, gave this guy the fucking Gawk Gawk 9000, the hand twister combo type of suck off to James Robinson because I love James Robinson. I think that James Robinson is going to put up a repeat season. Now, I understand that Carlos Hyde is there, and that definitely means he is going to get less carries because last year, this guy literally put the whole fucking team on his back. He was a workhorse back times 2 because they never brought anyone else in because no one else on that roster could stay healthy from COVID. And they just had no skill at all. So James Robinson was just eating up the touches, and he feasted like Ezekiel Elliott on Thanksgiving dinner, and I think there's potential for him to do it. Back-to-back Michael Jordan 96, 97 years. This guy's a beast, fucking undrafted rookie last year. Takes the world by storm, and I think he's going to be able to repeat in 2021. So again, we got Cam Akers, James Robinson, and Stefon Diggs in our first 3 picks. After James Robinson, we see Josh Jacobs, Chris Godwin, David Montgomery, and Mike Evans. David Montgomery is a very interesting running back to kind of talk about because we saw the upside last year, but with Tariq Cohen there, with them bringing in Damian Williams, is there really a chance that David Montgomery shines this season as well as he did deep down last season? I think there is a shot, but I am definitely very worried about it with Tariq Cohen. I wouldn't say that he is a guarantee to be worth the 4th round pick, but I'm certainly willing to take the shot on him, even though he may be a little bit more risky. After David Montgomery came Mike Evans. If I'm being honest with you, I'm kind of looking to do the 1-2 fucking faderoo on Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and the running backs in Tampa Bay because I don't know what to think with Tom Brady. The guy spreads the ball out like Mia Malkova gets her cheeks spread on the hub. So let's get into the next pick. We are sitting here at the 403. And I am thinking, since we got 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, you could really go either way here. But I do believe that the wide receivers in the 5th round, I will feel a lot more comfortable starting in my roster versus a running back. I think that it is very, very possible nowadays with how fantasy football goes that you can be starting 3 running backs at a time. I've been preaching this since 2019 when I started making videos. My first ever video in 2018. I only made one video then. I also preached it back then. I've been on the running back train since I was born. So we are here, sitting here at our pick, and I am looking to go running back at this slot. I just think that the wide receivers are much deeper than running back because you can assume that Chris Carson, Melvin Gordon, Kareem Hunt are going to be gone, and by then it is a certified wasteland at the running back position. So we're sitting here, Chris Carson, Melvin Gordon, or Kareem Hunt. I love all three of these guys, but one of these guys has a clear stranglehold. Actually, two of them do, because Kareem Hunt is behind Nick Chubb. Melvin Gordon is solo. He's riding solo, like that song right now in that backfield, because Phillip Lindsay is in Houston. Chris Carson also riding solo. They really never have anyone behind him. Rashad Penny will never be healthy to even have to worry about. So now we're sitting here, Melvin Gordon or Chris Carson. Melvin Gordon, someone said it in my last video when I was talking about underrated running back James Robinson, that Melvin Gordon is actually the most underrated guy, which I can also kind of agree with. I think he's severely underrated because when Phillip Lindsay was out, this guy was balling, but I think Seattle overall is a better team. And in that case, I'm going to go with Chris Carson, who's been ultra consistent. It's a little bit more risky going Melvin Gordon, but I think he could also pay off maybe slightly better. Both of those guys I like a ton, so it's really kind of pick them at that point. So let me know, who do you guys would prefer to draft? Would you guys rather draft Chris Carson, or are you guys more in the boat of wanting to go ahead and draft a guy like Melvin Gordon? So knowing what I know now, I probably genuinely would have picked a wide receiver because only 2 running backs went in the 12 picks before I could go again. But again, you kind of just have to assume that more running backs will go because that's just how the train of the draft goes. So I'm fine with what I did. Obviously, you just have to make that decision at the time, and maybe I chose slightly wrong. After I went with Chris Carson, Julio Jones came out the board, followed by Noah Fant, Amari Cooper, Titty Boy, T. Higgins, Bobby Trees, Deontay Johnson, Cooper Kupp, Josh Allen, Kenny Galladay, DJ Moore, CeeDee Lamb, Tyler Lockett, Mark Andrews, Adam Thielen, Brandon Ayuk, Chase Edmonds, Travis Etienne, and Melvin Gordon. So we are back up on the board. I also would have been pretty happy getting Kareem Hunt at this pick. Interesting to see where Travis Etienne ends up falling in the NFL draft. Is it a juicy landing spot, or is it no bueno? Depends on where you want to be looking to draft him. I feel like him and Najee have the potential, if they land in the correct spot, to be 2nd or 3rd round picks in redraft. So we are back up on the clock, and we are definitely looking to go wide receiver here, but it's not looking the greatest. It really isn't. The question, though, is am I willing to go with a mid-round tight end? I normally wait on quarterback. I like the falling value of Kyler Murray, but I'm just not going to pull the trigger yet in the 5th round. I would be looking to get a guy in like the 7th round, probably at the earliest at quarterback. That's just kind of how I feel about it. So Hawkinson, is he worth this pick? I like TJ Hawkinson a lot, but do I like Jared Goff in this offense? I liked him with Matthew Stafford. We saw him fucking flourish last season, but will we be able to see that with Jared Goff? I'm not sure. Does that mean you should fade TJ Hawkinson? No, but it definitely makes me a little queasy, a little bit uneasy to draft him inside the 5th round, so we are going to, man, oh man. I mean, I just don't like these receivers. I just don't. I don't feel like taking my 5th round pick and shoving it directly up my own ass, drafting Juju or Odell. So I'm just going to wait one more round. We're drafting our bench running back. I understand some people say this is a little weird, but it is what it is. Kareem Hunt, running back of Cleveland. If Chubb was to go down, he will be the best pick of the 5th round if Chubb stays healthy. Hopefully, obviously, knock on wood. Kareem Hunt was still worth the 5th round pick because he's just a reliable flex option. So now we are going to hop on the wide receiver train here. We got to take a shot on one of these guys. After Kareem went the guy I wanted in Cortland Sutton, followed by TJ Hawkinson, Miles, aka Carol Gaskin, and Kyler Murray. But it is what it is. We are going to kind of have to figure out what's going to happen in the draft. If the Cincinnati Bengals draft the wide receiver in the 1st round, meaning they draft Jamar Chase, then Tyler, Boyd, my guy, is fucking gonna be terrible. But, if they, like a chicken, if they don't, then Boyd will be very useful. So it's kind of a conundrum we're in right now. So we're gonna go ahead and assume that they draft a O-tackle in Penei Sewell. So we're going with Tyler Yeah, Boyd at this pick, who played very, very well last year when Burrow was healthy. Not as great without Burrow, but that obviously makes sense because Burrow was so much better than what they're rolling out after that. So after we went ahead, we went with Tyler Boyd. Aaron Rodgers came at the board, followed by OBJ, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Ronald Jones, Juju Smith-Schuster, Debo Samuel, DJ Chuck, baby Chuck, Justin Herbert, Will Fuller, Raheem Mostert, Leonard Fournette, Curtis Samuel, Russell Wilson, Brandon Cooks, Robbie Anderson, Jalen Hurts, and Chase Claypool. So 3 quarterbacks go in the first, or 2 quarterbacks go in the first 5 rounds, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 go in the next 2 rounds from round 6 to 7. So we're still going to continue to wait on the quarterback position, though none of the falling value here is great. Again, we're not going to talk about Deshaun Watson because I have no fucking idea what the man did or didn't do. I have no idea. You have no idea either unless you know Deshaun Watson, if he did it or not. Or if you are Deshaun Watson, then you know. He's either going to be, well, we're going to know probably. We'll know by the start of the season. Obviously, he won't be pick 10 if he is acquitted, if he didn't do it. But if he did do it, then he's probably not going to play this year anyway. So nothing really to worry about him. So now we are sitting here on the board. We got Cam Akers, James Robinson, Stephon Diggs, Tyler Boyd, Chris Carson, and Kareem Hunt. We're going to hop onto the wide receiver train here and take a shot in the dark on one of my favorite wide receivers coming out of the draft last year, Alabama wide receiver Jerry Jeudy of the Denver Broncos. Last year, he frankly just did not get it done all the time. If you look at his stats, he's all over the place. He's dropping the ball all the time. He got 113 targets, only 856 yards and 3 touchdowns, but I do think things will change in 2021. Hopefully there's a quarterback change as well to help out my boy Jerry Jeudy, who seems like an extreme value inside of the 7th round. Knowing what we know about his talent, there was a 71% chance I could have gotten him in the next round, but I don't give a fuck. I'm going to draft my guy. After we went Jerry Jeudy, DP, followed by David Johnson, Stephon Diggs, or Devin Singletary, and Najee Harris. Najee Harris, again, not going to be an 8th round pick. Going to be probably a 1st or 2nd round NFL draft pick, so he'll get drafted much higher. So now we are back on the board, and we are going to be back looking for some running back value inside of the 8th round. At tight end, I like Goddard. I don't think they're going to be able to get Kyle Pitts. What's his name? Not Zach Taylor. Zach Ertz is still on the team. So what the fuck's going to happen there? I thought he was going to get traded. I like Goddard enough to draft him here, but I'd rather just wait at that point and take a shot even deeper from 3. Call me fucking Stephen Curry. So we're going to hop back on the running back train here, and I actually have sold myself into liking Kenyon Drake. Now, I don't actually like him because of the team he's on. I just like the fact that John Gruden is crazy enough to actually put this guy in the slot and use him like that. And because I think he's actually the best handcuff in fantasy football, because in my opinion, he has the best skill set, and he might actually be like the 3rd down guy, and you might be able to actually start him every week. It's like a high upside shot when you're in the 8th round to just take a chance on a guy like Kenyon Drake. Sure, he might completely suck cock and do nothing for your fantasy team, but he also has the upside to be very involved in this Raiders offense, so it's kind of interesting to see how I literally don't want Josh Jacobs at all, even though he's the starting guy. But I do kind of like Kenyon Drake because the value you can get later in the draft. Again, I understand if you don't like Kenyon Drake, but that's kind of just my explanation and my rationale behind it. So now we're going to be back up on the board in the 9th round. I'm sure a bunch of players that I probably wanted will come off the board after I drafted KD. That's Kevin Durant. I'm talking about Kenyon Drake. Jarvis Landry, followed by James Conner. Hollywood. Brown, LaVishka Shenault, Damian Harris, J.D. McKisson, Titties, Corey Davis, Zach Moss, Michael Gallup, Sterling Shepard, Tariq Cohen, Naheem Hines, Michael Pittman, A.J. Dillon, Jalen Reagor, Dallas Goedert, Javonte Williams, and T.Y. Hilton. Interesting to see that Corey Davis, now a Jet, goes and is drafted that high, to be honest with you, in the 8th round. That's just interesting because I feel as though Mr. Denzel Mims may actually be the better pick, and he goes much later. But I still think Corey Davis is decent. Another pick that is interesting is Jalen Reagor in the 9th. I just don't think that... I think the Eagles just frankly put a fucking curse on the wide receiver position. when they draft him in the first round, so I'm not really looking at him at all, to be completely honest with you. So now we are back on the board. We got Cam Akers, James Robinson, Stephon Diggs, Tyler, Boyd, Chris Carson, Kareem Hunt, Jerry Jeudy, and Kenyon Drake. So we definitely have to hop back onto the wide receiver train. If not, maybe get a tight end, but Dallas Goedert is already gone. So we're going to hop onto the receiver train, and no one talks about this man. His name is Cole Beasley, and it's probably because he's a slot wide receiver, and that's kind of boring. Now, I understand some people might fret. They may be a little scared. Oh, Nick, you already have Diggs, and you want Beasley as well? Beasley's never going to be the starting receiver on my team. He might just be the flex. And he was literally putting up humongous numbers last year on Buffalo. I don't really see why Beasley wouldn't be worth a 9th round pick, at least in my opinion. Sure, he's super safe. He's not really that upside moonshot pick like Kenyon Drake, but I'm happy taking it here. Cole Beasley of the Buffalo Bills. Next up here, we're probably going to draft yet another wide receiver, but it is around quarterback time at the 10th round here, so that we don't go ahead and get sniped. After we drafted Cole Beasley, Jameson Crowder came off the board, followed by Deshaun Watson, Tony Pollard, and Hunter Henry. Now, with Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, if I'm being honest with you, I don't want to draft either. I just don't. I don't like the Patriots' offense. Now, if they draft a quarterback, they trade up, they get Justin Fields or something, then yes. Then yes, I will. But with Cam Newton, I'm not too sure about it, to be completely honest with you. So we are back up on the board here, and we're going quarterback. We're going to go with, now I actually like 3 of these names a lot. I think all could be top 10 guys. Stafford, Tampa Bay Tom, and Ryan Tannehill of the Tennessee Titans. Which one do I prefer, though, is the question. I think Stafford has the best potential out of all of these guys to finish as top 5 in LA. So Stafford will end up being my guy at that pick. I wouldn't judge, though, if you went with anyone else. So we're going to go with Stafford here in round 10. I like the upside of LA. Some people will prefer not to go with a running back and quarterback on the same team. I understand that. In that case, you could have went with Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee. If you're... Oh, what was that joke? You're the only 10 I see. So fucking funny. So after we went ahead and drafted Matthew Stafford, Tanyan came at the board, followed by Mike Williams, Jamal Williams, back-to-back Williams, Darnell, here comes the money. Money. Latavius Murray, James White, Marvin Jones, Christian Kirk, Logan Thomas, Darrell Henderson, Marlon Mack, Gus Bus Edwards, 8B, John Brown, Jamar Chase, Phillip Lindsay, Mike Davis, Todd Gurley. So now we got 1, 2, 3 more real picks before we have to go ahead and draft our defense and kicker, which are just irrelevant to talk about at this point in the offseason because we don't even know the NFL schedule yet, so at least for defense. So now we're back up on the board here, and this is the point where I'm going to go ahead and just take my shot on Jeff Wilson potentially becoming the starting running back of the 49ers. The 49ers just cycle guys in and out, so I'm just going to take the shot saying that Jeff Wilson might have the potential to be that guy. So after we went with Jeff Wilson, now we got to go ahead and pick a tight end, and I like Irv Smith a lot in Minnesota with Kyle Rudolph gone in New York. It seems like the door's wide open for Irv Smith to perform, and he did perform quite well last season when Kyle Rudolph was out, so that seems like a very basic pick there. Everyone's going to be talking up Irv Smith, though. There's no way he's going to be a 12th round pick by the time we're talking about drafts in August or September. So get the value while you can right now in your best ball draft. So after we went ahead and drafted Jeff Wilson and Irv Smith, Hayden Hurst came off the board, followed by Trevor Lawrence, Mike Gesicki, Kyle Pitts, Tom Brady, LA Rams defense, Henry Ruggs, McCole Hardman, Rashad Penny, Alexander Mattison, Baltimore Ravens, Joe Burrow, I'm in the pocket like Burrow, Keshawn Vaughn, Indianapolis Colts, Giovanni Bernard, Benny Snell, and Emmanuel Sanders and Joshua Kelly. So we're going to close out the draft with a final wide receiver. And like I said earlier on in the video, I think that Mims actually has the potential to become the #1 guy there. Sure, he wasn't given a lot of opportunity last year due to injury, only played in 9 games. I think things could be a little different in New York without that dumb fuck Adam Gase as their quarterback. So we're on the board here. We're going to go ahead and draft our kicker and defense. When you want to draft a kicker, you just pick whoever I rank the highest. I'll make a kicker video later on in the offseason. That's how you figure that out. And then for defense, what you're going to be doing, shout out to my boy, my old bitch lame, but my young ho coup over there. But for defense, what you want to do is you want to look at the NFL schedule for week 1, which we don't have yet. It's supposed to come out after the draft. Then I'll kind of have a better idea of what defense I want to draft, because I just targeted defense to play week 1, and then if they're good week 2 as well, then you're good for that. But if not, you just cut them and add a new defense every single week. So we'll just go with the highest ranked defense still on the board in the no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. So we finish up our draft with a C, but that's okay because this is an A team in my book. I don't understand where this ranking comes from. We got Matthew Stafford, Cam Akers, James Robinson, Stephon Diggs, Tyler Boyd, Irv Smith, Chris Carson, the Bills, and Justin Tucker in our starting lineup. Our bench is comprised of Kareem Hunt, Jerry Jeudy, Kenyon Drake, Cole Beasley, Jeff Wilson Jr., and Denzel Mimsy. So thank you guys all so much for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying, ended up having a great time, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day talking about fantasy football on my channel. I was talking about the NFL and the NFL draft. So have a great rest of your guys' day. Stay safe. Happy fucking Wednesday. Hump day. I love you guys all. As always, stay safe. Goodbye.